What's up, guys? It is Rick Ginn, and it is Monday evening. So you guys know what time it is. It is Rick time, and tonight we're talking all about negotiations. And I got to be honest with you, this is actually, I really enjoy this subject. So once you get a ton of experience in wholesaling, particularly in wholesaling, as you progress and you get lots of deals under it, your first and foremost activity is to locate motivated sellers. But the thing is, like, once you get to a certain level, you get really good. And what you really increase your knowledge and your skills at is at negotiating. And I'm going to tell you, in the first 6 months, you just learn the basic mechanics. As you go through in time, I'm going on 20 plus years, you get wildly good at it. Because why? Because you get a ton of experience. And when that experience comes, the knowledge comes with it and you'll learn. The question is, how long do you want to take to learn it? Do not wait 20 years. So today I'm going to teach you the fundamentals of negotiations for wholesaling. And I'm going to show you with a graph on how your negotiations will increase your bottom line exponentially. And so if you only get out of this today the understanding of how negotiations work, if you understand the mechanics, most people go into it and they're like, well, I'm just going to get to this negotiations part. And they don't even like really understand what it is. And don't get me wrong, I need you to spend your energy on marketing and locating motivated sellers, because that is the number one rule. You don't have a business in wholesaling without it. But as you progress, you will do amazing things with it. And I want to teach you today and go through it. So I'll take a short, probably 15, 20 minutes. We'll walk through negotiations. And then if you want to jump on a one-on-one live call with me, well, I'm hot this week. I'm all over the internet. Do me a favor, click that link on for the one-on-one streams. It's pinned to the top of the comment section. Guys, use the comment section to basically look up your to tell me what market you're in, introduce yourself, and that's how I kind of get to know you guys. And if you want to come on camera, you don't have to come on camera. We'll do a one-on-one. And if you've never done a deal before, don't worry about it. I don't care. Actually, I can help you out. And if you've done 10, you've done 20, I don't care if you've done 1,000. Let's talk. I promise you, I can help you up your game in wholesaling. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what I want to teach you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rick Ginn. You guys know my son, Zach Ginn. And so they're like, Rick, why are all these channels? The Flip with Rick is where me and Zach go together and we collaborate and we run our wholesaling business. And it's actually my favorite place to be in the world. Why not? You work with your son. It's phenomenal. But Zach also has a channel and he provides like up-to-date knowledge. As a younger person being wholesaling, he's very adept with technology and everything. On my channel, I'll talk about anything. We'll talk about raising kids. We'll talk about wholesaling. We'll talk about real estate investing, short sales. I don't care. The idea is you can only get exclusive content by going to the channel. So some of you guys connect with Zach and I'm perfectly fine. I watch all his lives. You can watch mine. And the idea is you get different content with each channel. And if you assimilate with one more than the other, then just go for it. That's what we're here for. The other reason we do it is so we can do more one-on-one lives and interactions for you. So guys, take advantage of it. Like Monday night is the night if you want to connect with me. And the really cool part, guys, if you are brand new to this channel, I want to welcome you. Number one, if you have never, ever done a deal before, or you're just looking at basically wholesaling now, I want you to go over to freewholesaling.com. Let me put it up here. Wait, that's the wrong one. Freewholesaling.com is the number one most downloaded, most used wholesaling course in the United States, if not in the world. And here's the really cool part is I'm going to teach you, me and Zach will teach you how to do wholesaling 100% for free. I won't get in your back pocket. The only thing I ever ask for is your email and exchange. You get the information. We constantly update it. 25 years experience, guys. This stuff, it's unheard of in this market. And then when we do the one-on-ones, I don't have to hold back on you because I'm not going to be selling you a course. So Do me a favor, if you're brand new, go over to freewholesaling.com. All the information is going to be in there to get you started. The idea is to learn how to be an effective wholesaler, make your first 100 grand as fast as possible. And then we let you make the decision where you want to go from there. So use the comment sections and do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe, put your questions in the comments, and for God's sake, smash that like button. I got to know there's people there and they're listening to me, and I want to help out as many people as possible. So let me just get right into it. I actually have a brief slide. I promise this will be quick. I didn't keep it in order, did I? Okay. So negotiations, if you look up the definitions, I always start from, okay, what the heck does it mean? Because everybody makes assumptions. A lot of people think negotiations where you freak out and you start screaming and like beating people up on price. And honestly, negotiation starts from the first time you contact a motivated seller. There's no other way to say it. It does not magically start at the end of any type of appointment if it's on the phone or in person. You guys have to understand that. So a negotiation is nothing more than a discussion aimed at reaching an agreement. That's it. So if you understand that, that's it. You've got to understand what a negotiation is, okay? A negotiation is not a dominant form of communication from one party to another. That is what we call a dictatorship, and you don't want any part of that. So if you understand what a negotiation is going into it, then let's go over to our flowchart. And guys, I've looked at negotiations every which way. And this chart, as simple as it is, it actually has a very, very basic function, and I want you to understand it. So on the left side is your level of relationship. And we go into this in great depth, and I'll show you how we do it as well, okay? On the lower part is your level of importance from low to high. So relationship, this would be low would be a poor relationship, high would be amazing rapport. And then on the bottom is your flow. Are you making progress in your negotiations? And if you're not making progress, it's extremely low. And if you're pushing real hard, it's high. Okay. And then basically, now I never use the word compromise. It's not, but there's always some give and take in negotiations. But you're going to have one side of this, which is accommodating, and then you're going to have avoiding. Okay. Honestly, these are like the two worst zones you can absolutely be in. They're equivalent to what I call the friendship zone. So if you've ever been there, you wanted to date somebody else and they just wanted to be friends with you, that means you're right here. It means you just didn't push hard enough for the relationship. So I'm not here to give relationship advice. I'm just telling you how it interconnects with negotiations. And so what I want you to do for the people that are watching this, or you're watching it recorded, I don't care, is pick out which box you know you tend to get stuck in. And that's the easiest way to figure out how to make you a better negotiator. Once you understand where you get stuck, then it's much easier to get out of it. So I'll give you an example right now. When I started as a wholesaler, I spent most of my time in the accommodating box. Okay. Why? Number one, I was really good at building rapport with people. Amazing. I would blow this thing off the chart every time, but I spent so much time building rapport, I didn't push the conversation for an outcome. And then I still got deals, but man, I lost a lot of deals because I just started doing that. And if you're there, I'm here to tell you it's one of the easiest ones to fix. The easiest ones to fix. Now, if you're on the other side of the scale and you're highly competitive and you'll run over anybody and nobody ever gets their opinion, you're one of the toughest people to get across on how negotiations work. You can fix it, but I'm here to tell you there is a constant balance game in negotiations between connecting with people and pushing the conversation for a final outcome. And I want you to look at every negotiation. If you understand this relationship in this flowchart, you can manage it. Okay. Sometimes you got to lift here and then you got to go over there. And then this has got to drop a little bit. But the idea is to try to push them at somewhat of a simultaneous pace. Okay. So I will tell you this on the negotiations, you're better off if you can stay to the right side of this red line. Okay. Honestly, everything below this red line is where almost all beginner wholesalers wind up. And your goal is to move over to the promised land. Okay. And this is ideally where you want to be, like right here in dead center in the middle. and you want to get out of this zone and you want to get out of this zone. So this is where we're aiming for and shooting for. So how do we do that? It's real simple. Okay. Guys, I'm not even going to complicate this. I'm going to keep this like super simple because I think most people, do you know how many consultants are out there in the wholesaling business trying to tell you how to break down your operations, how to talk to people, and they have never talked to more than like 100 sellers themselves. They are terrible at this. They don't understand the fight we all have to go through every day. Dude, I understand it more than anybody. Okay. I love this business, and this is what has driven me. The problem is this took me 7 years to figure this out, and I'm explaining it to you in 10 minutes. So how do we fix it? The first thing you do, the easiest thing to do as a wholesaler, especially as a newer wholesaler, I don't care, a year or less, is focus on the relationship part. You know why? It's the easiest. It's flat out the easiest one to do. If you connect with people, you bond with them, you build a rapport, it's much easier to move your conversation. Okay. Think about this. If you're going to do business with someone and you have a friend that sells the exact same product and you go on the internet, you're most likely going to give the friend the first shot. Why? Because you have a connection with them. All I want you to do is utilize that exact same method. That's all you do. Okay. How do you do it? You basically have conversations with people. So what you'll do is take your qualifying point, even in the beginning, when you talk to them on the phone, you find out if they're qualified, and then you push it into a conversation. Okay. The main thing, though, is you got to find a way to make progress in your conversation. Here's the only problem as a beginner is if you ever get like great rapport and you get stuck in the friend zone. The problem is you get so far off the subject of buying their house, you became such good friends, you actually lose credibility because you're not pushing the conversation forward. And I've spent way too much time. So honestly, if you spend more than 10, 15 minutes trying to develop a relationship, especially in the beginning, you find yourself 30 minutes plus, be aware of it, because if you keep doing this, you're going to be in the accommodation, which we call the loser zone. I'm just going to be brutally honest. It means you're not going to get anything accomplished, and it sucks. Okay. On the other side, if you don't establish a good relationship, you're nothing but like a brutal businessman, and you're going to run people over there, and they don't want to do business because they think you're a shark. So easiest thing we do is focus on building a relationship. What I want you to do is the biggest problem all new wholesalers have is they get stuck and they get comfortable building that relationship and they don't know how to transition over. Okay. So I want you to have a go-to, what I call a transition phase. I had to do this by force. Otherwise I would talk to people for hours. You guys know I love to talk, and talking is good for building rapport, but it has a point where you actually lose credibility because you're not talking what you're actually there for. So once I connect with them 10, 15 minutes in it, and I go just like this. I say, John, I could talk to you all day. You're my kind of guy. I love talking to you, but let's get in. Let's talk to the house. Can you walk me through the house? And let's see what we can put together to see if I can actually work with you. Does that sound okay? That's it. Just do a transition. They're never going to give it to you. You have to take it. Remember, you have to control the conversation. Okay. The other rule you have to understand in any type of negotiations, from the first phone call to the visit, you have to be in control. Okay. Whoever controls the conversation is usually going to have the best outcome for them. Now, when I say control, it doesn't mean like dominate your prospect. It means you assert the questions first. Because if not, you're going to get people that what I call like machine gun fire you. Hey, Rick, how much are you going to pay for it? Rick, how quick can you close? Hey, Rick, can I leave stuff in the garage? Hey, Rick, how do I know you're giving me a fair price? Hey, Rick, how do I know you're legitimate? And once they do that, I said, listen, John, all legitimate questions. And actually, I'm really happy you're asking them. Let me go through and look at the property. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and I'll answer every one of those questions. I just need to get some more information from you. So control is everything. And it's really important that you demonstrate it from the beginning. As a new wholesaler, people used to attack me all the time. Hey, how much are you going to pay for my house? How quick can you close? And once they do that, do not answer the questions, because now you're nothing more than an order taker if you do that. And just say, listen, wait a minute. Let me ask you a few questions. Take a look at the house and I'll answer all your questions. I just need to get some more information from you. Okay. And that's what you want to do. So look at the sign, figure out where you are right now. If you guys even want to comment in there, whatever it is, just put it on there. But understanding, I'm telling you where I was. I got stuck in the accommodation zone. Okay. So most of you are going to wind up in this one. The newest wave I've seen with most wholesalers that do not spend any time educating themselves, they get in the avoiding thing, which means if somebody offers a house for 200 grand, they take the first offer they get. And that way they don't have any confrontations with anyone until they go to meet their cash buyers and they say, well, you paid way too much for it. Then you have massive confrontation. So it actually, what you think you are saving on confrontation will blow up on you on the end. Okay. So let's keep moving forward here. I told you this would be brief. I'm going here. Okay. So if you know the relationship, understanding, I don't want you to go above like this mark, and then you got to push on there. And if you want to go from here to there, do it at the very end. That's where you really get the final connection with people and you get it. So many of you try to build rapport from like minute 1 to the first 30 minutes, and you spend too much time in this area. And then you don't get down to getting business, and you can actually run out of time. So understanding, build that rapport. But if you want to top off your rapport, just do it at the end. Don't do it at the beginning, because it's going to discredit you. And I don't want that to happen to you. Okay. Last one here. Okay. Everybody has to use trial closes. And by the way, this is not particular to wholesaling. It's in every type of business. Okay. A trial close is just a test gauge to your seller's response. That's it. Okay. It's kind of like having the teacher go, hey, can you quickly grade my paper? I know I'm only about 80% done. Can you tell me how I'm doing? And if she comes back and gives you a big fat F, you just go back and kind of redo the test. I don't know if they have schools like that, but in theory, what you're doing is you should always use a trial close. And if you don't, you have to incorporate it. A trial close is just testing them if they're okay with everything. Okay. And then this is where you can kind of use like the scrunchy face technique. You can trial close anyone. Let's go, listen, don't shoot the messenger here, but what if I could offer 50,000? And then they go back, and if they blow up on you, they're like, what are you, crazy, Rick? I don't do that. I go, yeah, my partner, Zach, I told him that wasn't going to work. But like, listen, why we're talking here, I kind of gave you a number. Where do you think we are on this? And you're going to go back. When a trial close fails, you want to go back and get more information and then try a trial close again. You keep going until you make progress. That's how all negotiations go. Very rarely do you go at the end to go, listen, I'll give you $100,000, close it in a month, and we'll pay the closing costs. I need a yes or no now. Very rarely do I have clients do that. I always start out, and when I can't get a price out of them, I'll start doing the trial close with them, and I keep working. And when they reject me, I just take more information from them, and then whoever gets the most information in negotiations and controls it will typically win. Now, here's what I call a win. A win is when you go back. Let me go back on my chart here. A win-win is basically when both sides see eye to eye, both sides are benefiting, and both are very happy with the transaction. If you get down in this zone, you might get a temporary contract, but you will lose a lot of people, and it's problematic. If you stand up here, you have to get out of the contracts because you way overpaid for it if you're on this side of the equation. So, I never really split the difference unless like there's a ton of money being made, then I'm okay with it. But I don't care with that. So guys, that's really it on negotiations. So many of us spend so much time in the wrong area of just building rapport, and we don't push the conversation forward. And so using that trial closing method will help you progress your transaction, and it still allows you to build on rapport. So the biggest part is that last 20, 25% of rapport, you want to connect with them. Do it at the very end after your final negotiation, because that's how you solidify a buyer and a seller, to make sure they're always on the hook with you. They tend not to ghost you when you do that, and it's very, very effective. So guys, that is it. What I'm going to do is just double check some questions, and I'll take everybody in order over here. And let me see here. Let's see. What's up? I appreciate it. What's up, Charles? What's up, Alex? Even Charles agrees with me. So realtors do a ton of negotiations, obviously with listing agreements, a constant push and pull, but they have the same problem. If they list a property for too much and give the clients what they want, then they wind up working for free, or worse yet, get fired. And then another broker gets it after the fact, goes, listen, you need to lower the price. So guys, negotiations works on everything. It works with your kids, your spouse, your friends, everything. And I mean, everything in life is a negotiation. And if you don't believe that, go test it out. As soon as you get off this live, I promise you, someone will negotiate with you. Okay. The most effective negotiators are the people that can show up in person, and then it works its way backwards. You can do phone, you can do video. That's why I say if you can always be face to face, it really works well. So, let's see here. Okay, guys, let's jump on it. So if you have a live on here, if you have a question or anything that you want to talk about, this is the place to do it. And let me bring on Denny. You there?
What's going on, man? How are you doing?
Good, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
So not to sound disingenuous, but like sometimes I kind of tell them I use an underwriter when I'm talking and negotiating. And I say, hey, hold on, let me get back to my underwriter. Let me put you on hold for a little bit. And I just put them on mute in my cell phone. And you'd be surprised what they say when they're just say like, I'll take 179, you know? Or like,
well, let me tell you this, dude. So I've been in the business 20 years.
Yeah.
I have seen every dirty trick play in the book. And don't get me wrong. We could do an entire show on like the cheat sheet of negotiations, but I'm trying to teach like a foundation, and then you guys can kind of like do advanced stuff. Like, let me give you an example. So I own an agency. So like we sell properties, like we handpick some of the stuff out of wholesale, and we put it out with the agents, and then they do their own book of business, very, very high end real estate. And on like the higher end stuff, we put in Wi-Fi, internet, the whole 9 yards, cameras, and voice. And it's mind-boggling what the information they'll share. They'll tell you exactly what they'll pay for it, what they won't negotiate on it. And it's actually completely legal and fair, because I got nervous with it. Yeah. And then the other thing we instituted at a lot of our properties, there's Ring cameras, and they just sit there and they just chat. So whenever on a Ring camera, so you guys know, if it's motion activated on like a front porch, it records the conversation. Boy, if I had some doozies, man. So they're all legal, like they're methods, but it's very interesting, because in a negotiation, if you know what the other side's willing to do, it's like cheating. It really is. Because we go into it like, oh my God, are they going to pull out? Or like, am I going to have to pay more? But once you get on that intel. So here's another little trick I do. Okay. This is bad. I'm going to share only one, because I'm not giving a cheat sheet on negotiations, but I am. Okay. Whenever we're selling like some of our wholesale properties, even some of our assignments, they always want to take like one final quick look at it. And then we send one of our acquisitions, usually people, or one of our realtors, to sit there. And here's what they do. They go, my job is just to open the door, and I'm going to take a bunch of phone calls, sit in the back. And I tell them all to disappear in the background. And by the end of it, they will tell us exactly what they'll pay, what they expect to negotiate on, and what needs to be to get the deal done every time. And it's like, so when they come back and they go, listen, I'm going to tell them we can only pay $300,000 for it, but in the end we'll pay $340,000. And so when you hear that, it's like, it's unbelievable. So a lot of people like, I'm not going to waste my time at an inspection or something like that. And that's not traditional wholesaling. But if you wind up having to do something like that, you would be amazed how much information they'll give you. And if they think the person's there is not important, by the way, if you guys ever show up for one of your own inspections or something like that, I'm just the guy letting you in. I'm never like the contract owner, because they run their mouths. And remember, in wholesaling, if you can't lose your ego, people will take advantage of you all day long. So I just shut up. The same thing whenever we're walking around a house and the neighbor comes out, hey, what are you doing? Are you looking to buy the house? I go, no, they told me just to check the landscaping. Like, you cannot show your cards, guys. We are paying a high stakes poker. I don't think it's nearly as complicated as poker, because I'm probably one of the worst poker players in America. So I'd never use poker compared to negotiating and wholesaling because you don't have to be super slick about this and you don't have to call bluffs and stuff like that. But it's funny you mentioned that because there's so like, guys, you got to be careful if you want to buy something, like especially personally, understanding when you walk into like these houses, nicer houses, they're all being recorded. They're using all this information against you. And now with the advent of like these Alexas and stuff like that, I think the damn thing's looking at me right now. I'm looking at the corner of my office here. I'm just like,
Yeah.
this is crazy stuff. But what can I help you out with today? I didn't mean to go on, but like now you can cheat
No.
negotiations, but like you got to play fairly because if you get caught like cheating, it will destroy your deal. But
Right. Like if you're
you guys
doing
invest
something.
all that time and money. When we do wholesale deals, we give it to realtor. I always send somebody. Someone's like, "What do I got to sit there for a 3-hour inspection?" I go, "I just need you there for the last 15 minutes." So they tell you what's wrong with it, and
Mhm.
then the realtor tries to negotiate it. And like, if you already know what they're going to try to negotiate with you, I just take it back. Another little tip: if you ever have to get a house inspected and you want to take it to retail, get it inspected before. You can get it done for about $100 cheaper, and the guy will tell you right off the bat like what the issues are. So you already know what the counter, and if their inspection's outrageous, you just give them the other inspection report, and they usually go, "Yeah, you're right." So,
Mm. Yeah.
so
I mean,
what's going on? We're not going to talk about cheating anymore, guys. Like you can,
okay, no more
this
cheating.
is common sense. It's not cheating. It's fair. If
Yeah.
it's your house and you put the technology and it's disclosed in like between the realtors and MLS, it's perfectly legal. Ring cameras are perfectly legal. They're on your property. So you can use a lot of this information. It doesn't work as much as wholesaling because it's not technically your property. But
Mm.
anyways, so
So
where are you in the negotiation zone? Where do you get stuck?
where I ended up getting stuck is a lot of it's like me worrying about caller ID reputation, and that might be a not like an illegitimate fear, but like a lot of it is like, oh my god, if I'm making all these follow up calls a day, I've had a bunch of numbers get labeled spam likely. T-Mobile puts VoIPs as spam likely automatically now,
Yeah.
and like it's kind of a big deal if like you have half of the people answering their phones that they would if it wasn't spam likely. But in my negotiations, I mean, I think like negotiating is kind of pretty easy part because I kind of use that method. I kind of drag it out a little bit.
Hmm.
Do you tend to use more live negotiation versus such?
I prefer a live negotiation. It just because I got 20 years. So
I
I
know.
don't. So
Yeah.
like I have to revert to. I have to teach my acquisitions people.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, Zach's the one who does it, and then I just kind of work with Zach. And most acquisitions, honestly, if you can just stick to the fundamentals, you're going to get like freak people. But if you stick to the fundamentals, build rapport, and progress through the conversation with trial closes, you can pretty much take anyone. Keep in mind, we are not buying beautiful, pretty houses that need like full retail. I'm not. And this is one of the biggest problems with most wholesalers. You spend time chasing people down that aren't even qualified for what we do. And I've done it. We've all done it. Like once you figure out you don't have to spend your energy there, you give them off to a realtor or you move on with your life.
Mhm.
It's just much, much easier because I always felt I did all the appointments, all the phone calls the first 7 years of this business. And I hated it at the end because it burnt me out. But it's a blessing in disguise because I spent more time in the trenches than most wholesalers will ever be. And it's given me a huge perspective on how to train people, how to do this, and how to get people through the things that just tie them up terribly. So the biggest thing you can do is just concentrate on rapport, do a transition, go, listen, I can talk to you all day. I love you. You're like a brother to me, but I'm here about the house. Let me ask you a few questions, walk through the house. And at the end, we'll see if we're a good fit. And then we roll to it. And then at the end, when you're making positive strides after you get final negotiation number, then top off the report. Go, hey, let's do this. You want to do that? Like, I would love to talk to you about this clock or something like that, and move on. And here's the other thing: is everybody thinks they're going to bat 100%. You're not. Like, I thought I could take everybody down when I started this business. You can't. Most of my deals always come in the follow up. Period. Follow up. People just aren't ready to sell today, but they're ready to sell in 3 to 6 months. So many wholesalers skip those people, and I get it. It's a pain in the butt to keep up with them, but it works. So.
Mm. Do you use any live transfers from when you have like you do predominantly cold calling? Because right now I'm doing texting.
So we kind of do it all. So I have a staff of 3.5 employees. I don't run big giant staffs because, to be honest with you, I want freedom. If I wanted a big giant staff, I would probably just go in the corporate world and utilize other people's money and just take stress to a maximum level and earn as much as I want. So I've tried it every way. I had 15 employees at once. I've had one employee. So I find a balance. I find 4 and under employees, you can make a ton of money in this business and have all the freedom you want. Once you go over 5 employees, it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, remember, you're responsible for 5 people. You're feeding their families, and you've got to make progress, and you've got to close on a lot of deals to pay all that overhead. And that's honestly, that's where wholesaling has its challenges, because everyone talks about, oh, I'm going to do 20 or 30 or 45 deals a year. I'm like, dude, you've been doing that for like 20 years. And like, I don't think you're making any money. Like, this is my theory. So I've done it. I had 15 employees. I just sit down with my accountant to figure out if I was making any money. And he's like, you made a crap load of more money just like working your small operation. So we just kind of reverse engineered it and found a way to do it. I've tried everything, guys. I tried all the Pat Lives, everyone that answer the phones, and then just give it to a sales team. I've tried it every which way. I've never said I'm the best wholesaler, like, period. The really cool thing about wholesaling is you make it to fit your life. Like, what I do doesn't always mean you have to do it. And so many are trying to strive for people that do 30 or 40 deals a month. If you truly knew what their operations look like behind the scenes, you wouldn't want any part of it. Most of them are losing propositions. And almost everybody that has those big operations, what do they have on the back end? What do they have, Denny?
Expenses. They're like 30 or 40%.
No, but they have an education course that makes 3 times the amount of money as their flipping course, so they can lose money in that business. And everybody buys into it, and it's complete. Listen, there's a crew out there. I'm not going to call out names, so you guys can figure it out. Is that they have an event like once a quarter, I don't know, 3 times a year, and it's just like, we're going to get you get 30,000 leads. You get them skip trace. You cold call them. You SMS them. You just blast them. You have these giant cold call centers, and you're going to do like 10 deals, 10, 15 deals a month. What they won't tell you is you got to spend 40 to 50 grand to hit those numbers. And honestly, you're not making any money. And I get all these people who still come to me this day like, oh, I tried that. I'm like, because it's BS. They have an education company. There's 6 partners. So they tell you they do 15 to 20 deals a month. You do the math, break it down. They're no better than what you are doing on your own. So go find your guidance and do it. By the way, Dave, I've tried every way to do it. The straightest way to connect with any seller is obviously SMS. You have to convert them over and get them on the phone. They never just close on a text. I've had one person in 5 years do that. But whoever takes that lead, if you're calling inbound or outbound, if they can handle, qualify, and talk to the customer and like get the bare bones and progress it, you'll usually do very well. The problem is I had people in the Philippines. I had 4 girls. All they did was answer phones. Dude, we had to go through so much volume because there was communication issues. They don't understand the American culture. The internet's terrible. And they got the low-hanging fruit, but like the stuff that you actually had to work with. Listen, how many people do you want to speak in a foreign country when you're dealing with a product? It's a pain in the ass. I told banks, I go, if they're not in America, I ain't talking to them. I have no problems with it, but like, you guys have gotten so cheap. You can't even go to a branch anymore and ask a question. It's so automated. So in a perfect world, if you're by yourself, if you did incoming direct mail, I'll just start with that one. If you answer the phone live, you screen them and basically disqualify because 9 out of 10 won't work, and take it all the way to the end, you will majorly outperform any other type of operation. Does it kind of suck? Yeah, it does. But there's something about answering that phone and finishing it that makes the customers feel comfortable. Now, I've had the most efficient way from a business is like, let me pay someone to answer the phones and then they'll forward me the leads. Well, you got 2 problems with that. Number one, if I'm a guy and it's a girl answering the phone and the girls are much better at it, you got to start all over, and it's a pain in the ass. And the reality is, once somebody gets off the phone, you ever played phone tag? Sucks. So sometimes you can wait 2 to 3 weeks to pick up that conversation again. And there's no way a VA is going to have the knowledge to ask everything you can. So when I get somebody on the phone, I try to get as much as I can because I assume they might not be around tomorrow. You have to think like that as a wholesaler. So if you can go from direct to the end, you can't screw it up and drop the ball. Whenever we did the transition, we were losing 60% of our customers. And the only way you can fix that, the only way I ever fixed it was have an in-house person. Well, that costs money. Going to cost you 35, 40 grand a year just to have somebody answer your phone. So it gets expensive. And that's the challenge with everything we do. So here's how we do it is we get buy-in from our acquisitions people, which we spend a ton of time training. And then they take the calls direct because they feel they have a better shot at closing people. So we tried multiple ways, we've tried Pat Lies. We even tried, I've tried the fanciest of service. Like I was paying 10 grand a month for a company answer phone. It just, if nobody cares, they don't care. And that's the biggest problem. And then the problem is like, once you do it yourself, you get growing. I don't want you to get caught in the same 7-year cycle I got into. I just didn't trust anyone and I didn't think anybody else could do it. And I was right. No one's ever going to match what you do. But if you can get them to 60 to 70%, you'll do amazing things with it. And then, but the problem is this, like I do 30, 40 deals a month. I can probably count less than 5 companies in the United States that do that. And I know them all. So it's like, you guys are being fed this big pile of crap. You could do anything. The question is, how much do you want to spend to do it? Are you willing to spend $50,000 to $100,000? You know how much pressure that is to make that work. Unless you got millions set aside for that type of operation, they don't work. I've watched seven to 8 big operations come to Florida saying we're going to do 40, 50 deals a month, 100% failure ratio. No one can do it in Florida. It just, the market's too local. You have to spread the entire state. You know what kind of manpower you need to do that? It's never going to work. So I hear what you're saying with that. Like I'm the only thing I can tell you is how long you've been wholesaling for.
So I've been in wholesaling. I started in last July. I've done about 12 deals. So
okay. So you got like, so the problem is in my perfect world, somebody would answer the phones that I completely trust and like would hand calls off live to me. And honestly, if it's a male and you're a male, that works the best because sometimes they don't know the difference. So here's a little secret. I have for 2.5 years, I convinced my wife to get out of teaching to help me out with the phones.
That's badass.
And she was dynamite. But then I found out problems. So are you married or?
No, I have a girlfriend and she just hates real estate. I love her.
I know. So the problem is my wife could buddy up with anyone. Like she's really good at building rapport, but like that's where it stops. So everybody was a qualified lead and she'd give me like 100 leads. I'm like, either you're the most amazing person or you're the worst phone screener I've ever had in my life. And then we can do an entire show on working with your significant other because it's dangerous. Like there's just certain stuff that's going to come up. And I tell her, like, we cannot cry in wholesaling. I should have a bumper. So there's no crying in wholesaling. You just got to get through it because people are mean and brutal on the phone. They're nasty. She's like, oh my God, you should hear what this guy said to me. And the first thing I teach, so I got another acquisitions person coming in tomorrow, is I just teach them how to get their butt kicked on the phone without crying. Because if you cry on the phone, we can't move forward. And I've seen guys cry more than girls. I think girls are actually tougher on the phone with it. So it's really? you're kind of in that point. I don't want you to get to that 7-year mark you got with me, but you will have to do some trade-offs to like manage your time. So you have to look at your schedule and look what works for you. I'm telling you right now, Danny, do not look at all these people telling you I close 15 to 30 deals a month. Dude, I've gotten in a plane. I've paid people big money and then I look in their operation and I've gotten on a plane 2 days later. I go, enjoy the money because that was one of the worst. Like you don't do what you preach. And like, I'm relying and to find out I do more business with you and I'm looking to consult with you. And that's the whole problem with coaching in general. It is a business. It's about generating revenue. And the people selling these big programs doing 30, 50,000 leads a month, they're not making any money wholesaling, but they're making a ton of money on coaching. And if you follow those, you are going to go down a deep abyss gutter and you're never going to get out of it. The people I've studied have done the best, all under 5 employees. And they have a direct hand on every employee. They do meetings like once a week. If you guys do like the big, I'm going to do 30, 40, 50 deals, they do 5 meetings a day. Denny, do you want to do 5 meetings a day? I've been in corporate America. It's the worst.
The only guy that I know does
Yeah,
like a
I ran billion-dollar operations. We never did 5 meetings a day. Your employees can't take it. They just hate it. So I'm here to tell you, you're in the right zone. Just don't think. I tried the 15-person operation. It took 4 years to unwind. It cost me over $1 million out of my pocket, and I didn't make any more money. So you can get to a sweet spot depending on your taxes. Talk to your accountant, where you can make the most amount of money. And on average, in my wholesaling business, I work 7 to 10 hours a week, and it's mostly creative and marketing stuff. And then I train people like these skill sets. Now that takes time, but like Zach had no experience. I took him from square one, and I go, listen, you just got to figure out marketing. And then I taught him how to do acquisitions, and he got really good. You guys don't understand, he spent 2 years. All he did was do appointments. That's all he did. Like, I buried him. So the first month or two I went on with him. And then after that, he did everything on his own. He's like, I got it. I got it. I got it.
Do you do more local stuff?
What's that?
Do you do more local stuff to Port St. Lucie?
So we do a lot of virtual stuff as well. So I always do the local stuff because I just know it so well. And I have such a big network. If I stop marketing, I would still do deals. So we still do local, and we do 4 virtual markets that we're very established in, and we figured out how to do it. I will tell you, the virtual markets were much more frustrating to me. Zach actually enjoyed the virtual markets more than I did, because there's a 3-month learning curve in every virtual market. But if you can get through it, they can be much more profitable than your local market. You got to be willing. Most people like, oh my God, 90 days. It's not that you're going to lose money. You're just going to lose a lot of time out of your life, because you got to learn that market. And that's the problem. Is my Port St. Lucie market is nothing like a Knoxville market or a Detroit market. They're all night and day. And that's what you guys got to truly understand when you do these things. So it's find your balance. Which market are you in?
I'm in Jacksonville. I'm local to my market, and that's pretty much all I've been doing.
Listen, local is you can't be. You just need to establish and dominate your local market. And then if you decide, hey, I used to live over here, or I got an aunt that'll help me out, she likes real estate, then it's a natural progression in the virtual. And if you can do that, it's perfect. It's when you go raw in virtual, it can be painful.
Yeah.
It's just new. So like if I was going to learn Spanish today, I probably a 5-year-old would crush me in it, because it's all like I didn't pay attention in high school. I somehow got through. I think I got through Spanish 1 and 2, and I was asked politely to leave Spanish 3 because I didn't know how to say hello in Spanish. So
that's kind of brutal.
It's true, man. Dude, I'm the worst student in the world. So if you're poor students and you want to get into wholesaling, there's a ton of hope for you, because wholesaling is not about being the smartest person. I have friends around me that are so ridiculously IQ smart, but they're broke, and I love them. But like I've learned, your IQ does not translate to the amount of money you're going to make. So,
dude, thank you, sir. That was a long-winded explanation, and I enjoyed every second of it.
No, you got it. You're on the right path. I'm just telling you, do not buy into this. Like, I got to do this big thing. Yeah, and you got to like keep in mind, I do JV deals with people all over the country. Like, this is relatively new to me in the last year, and I enjoy it. But like, I have to hire people. It's like I look at the stuff, and it takes like a year or two to really get it going, and that's all new to me. And like everything progresses and moves forward. Jacksonville's a wonderful market. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff going on with it. So just keep doing it. How old are you?
I'm 29. Sorry, I forgot for a second there.
Yeah. You're young, so you're fine, dude. I didn't start till I was 33. I had no idea what I was doing. So keep doing what you're doing. It'll work. I'm just telling you, don't buy into like this big baller theory. I'm telling you right now, with your eyes shut, and I mean your eyes shut, in my opinion, as a wholesaler for a small operator, 3 or less employees, you can do as many as 5. You can make $650 with your eyes shut, and have a majority of your time to do what you want. You have to put in a couple years. I'm just telling you, it took me longer than that, for full disclosure. But if that's what you truly want, if you go, listen, if I don't make $5 million or less, I'm not going to do it, then you're really going to have to but you're going to have to commit hundreds of thousands of dollars in resources to get to that level. And if Open Doors, Zillow, all these places have tried it and failed, look at the handwriting on the wall. Like, I've never seen anyone be successful in it yet. I don't care. And the ones that are, they have a bigger coaching program, and I can put 2 and 2 together every time. Every time. So let me ask you this. If you get 2 or 3 partners and you get all that, and say you guys are pulling in $2 million, you're not making any more money than I am, because you have to split it. And then I promise you, you're going to have a headache with one of your partners at some point. I've had 3 partners in my life, friends of mine, stuff like that. We were very happy to split it up at the end. It just comes very, it's very difficult. So
yeah, I could imagine.
Okay, Danny. Well, don't be a stranger. Come on out. Like, this is why I do Monday night, so I can help out with you. I love what you're doing. Like, you're getting through it.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, if you can give 2 years of your life to wholesaling, just completely commit to it. I'm not talking about like fall off the earth. Your life will projectively change. It will be like putting in 15 years at like a corporate job. That's what it does. And if you do that, like, I never have to work another day in my life. I choose to work because I actually freaking enjoy it. And then the idea is like, long as I make this amount of money, I the rest is just gravy to me. I'm the guy, I don't need 10, 12 million a year. Will I take it? Absolutely. But to me, the only reason I got into wholesaling was to get freedom. And I have it. And you guys see me working with my son. It never would have happened without wholesaling. I will tell you, the first 2 years, I wish I would have recorded and documented it. So I have a whole file with old pictures and stuff that I'm going to be sharing them here soon. But just enjoy your journey, man. So many people like fight this stuff. So
thank you.
Okay, Danny, let me answer some other questions here. I'll talk to you, bud. Good job. Keep it going, man. Okay. Let me just check the comments here. I appreciate it. I do love the UFC, man. I love a good fight. Sorry. It's maybe why me and Zach are such bold fighters, because you can fight me on the air, you can fight me in person. I don't care. Corey, what's up, man? So you guys get to know Corey. I think Corey started, I don't know, maybe even this year, but actually we become good friends. Corey does a ton of deals, constantly tries to share with me. But he's asking, at what point do you recommend an acquisition manager? And guys, this is critical. You need to understand this. The acquisition manager, in my opinion, is probably the most important role in your entire company. Okay. So in the beginning, you got to wear your hat as much as you can. When your plate starts to completely overflow and you can't talk to people and you can't reach out to them and you're missing out on deals, that's when you got to get an acquisitions person. And the problem with an acquisitions person is we tend to overpromise what we're going to give them, and we underdeliver, and they can fade away. A good acquisition person takes 90 days to be functional, 6 months to be kick butt, and a year to be phenomenal. The problem is the reality in this business, and no one's going to tell you this, I'm telling you the truth. The average span of a acquisitions person in your company is less than a year. Well, how do I know this? Because I've been through it so many times. Guys, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of wholesalers across the entire country. It is the same story. So make sure you pick one that's right. Make sure you pick one that doesn't want to be an investor on their own, because they're just going to take your leads and your sources and run with them, although they won't do much with it. And remember, your biggest risk with an acquisition manager is the amount of time you spend with them. So if you're getting super busy, my recommendation is get you someone to help you out with the phones. We just talked about Denny on like some of the challenge with that. If you can bring in a spouse, a friend, a partner, someone that has huge buy-in, or it's like tied to your company, which is what I prefer, that will help free you out so you can go out and do appointments. But if you're doing everything, it gets challenging. At some point, you hire someone. And then the other part is the pay structure for the acquisition people is, if they're going to be fully paid on commission and you're not like a superstar wholesaler, how are you going to pay them on a regular basis? And that becomes even the bigger challenge, because you can have a month or two without a deal. Like, they will not stick around and wait for you. And that's the biggest problem. So good question, Corey. Good question. Okay. Let's bring on Luis. You there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you tonight?
Look at it. She puts New Jersey New Jersey market right in her title. I love it, because I don't even have to ask. Like,
yep. No, I'm
man,
just.
That's brilliant. She should be running the entrepreneur side of this live. My God, you're the first one to do that, by the way. Now we're going to start a whole trend with people putting like all sorts of things in there.
Well, they ask you if you want. You have the option to do that, to change it on when they.
It's smart, because I don't have to ask you. It's like, I love it. So like, we're going to talk about New Jersey. Let me go to Luis. So what's going on? What can I help you out with?
So my situation is a little, well, I guess some people probably had it. I started real estate investing right before the crash in 2007, 2008, and I lost everything. So I want to get back in, but I'm like,
Welcome to the club. Do you know I did too?
really, no, I didn't know that. I knew you got in,
Listen,
but
I got my butt kicked because my greed radar went through the roof.
yeah,
And I bought a ton of properties with bank financing. And like, you got to understand, I was in a market that had a 70% pullback.
right.
Rents, values. And the funny thing is, in 2020, my market finally caught up to 2006 and 7 prices. That's
Oh
how
well,
bad it was. And I
yeah,
was the Mecca. I owned 30 houses. And my plan was to buy the houses, pay them off, and just like I never had to worry about working again.
okay,
And that's how I went through the process of finding wholesaling, because I didn't want to go through that mess again. And I
right.
have careful. So the only properties I own are ones I either leverage through a bank loan for commercial, or if I own them personally, they're completely paid off, and then another company owns them. Like I don't own anything. So I get it. I still have friends right now that got PTSD when we talk about 2006. So
Yeah,
I was there, and if you guys weren't around, it was so weird because they're like, well, what's the complaint about? You got great prices. It took 2.5 years to figure out if they were ever going to find a bottom in real estate, wasn't it? It was terrible.
yeah, exactly.
And so
So
it's like a sharp knife just tumbling, and like who's going to stick their hand out first? And nobody wanted to stick their hand out first. And then everybody, they talk about, you heard the word market capitulation. It's
yes,
just a fancy word where all sellers give up. Same thing happens in the stock market and real. By the way, guys, right now we're still waiting for it in real estate, and the jury's out. We're never going to know. Like, I remember sitting in a seminar in 2006. One of the most infamous, influential people in real estate stood on a stage and said, "There will be no market crash. It's just never going to happen."
hmm,
And I remember about 3 months later, like the shit hit the fan. It was just like, oh my god. So I
yeah,
understand you, but like I want you to understand this, Louis. It's in the past. It's gone.
right.
I don't think we're ever going to see an explosion like that again in our lifetime. At
Right.
least
Well,
mine.
I'm sorry. But my big thing is how the thing that like makes me so scared to get like go through with the deal and everything is how do I get myself out of the contract? I know you're supposed to write things into the contract, 24 hours, got the right to cancel and all that. It's like, is it that simple that you just say, okay, I want to cancel my contract? Or, I mean,
Okay. So have you started or tried out any wholesaling, or are you just in the process of
no,
researching it?
I guess you could say restarting because I was in the buy and hold
Okay.
like you were in 2007, 2008. And that's where I
Okay.
just
So
tiptoeing
good
back.
news is buy and hold still works, but it's you got to have a long-term plan for that. It's just like if you
You
buy
know,
a stock, you just got to buy it and come back to it in 5 years. Like that's the only way you're 100%, like 95% protected, in my opinion. So, um, first thing I want you to do is just go over to freewholesaling.com. All I do is ask for your email. I'm not going to charge you anything.
mhm,
And then just everything is completely laid out there. I have 20 years experience. My son has 5 years experience in there. And it's all every question you're asking right now, I guarantee you is in
okay.
there. And then the really cool part is 6 days a week, me and my son go live. He's 22, but don't underestimate. He's extremely
No,
sharp
I've
in this
been
business.
watching you guys for a little bit
Okay.
now, so yeah, gotcha.
So you can take that and then you can come in real time and ask questions with us live right here. And we do this all for free. And so they say, hey, Rick, what do you get out of it? I go, number one, I can create a legacy because I completely changed how this business operates. Because right now, outside of me and Zach, if you don't fork out 5 to 10 grand, no one will give you the time of day in this business. Okay.
You're absolutely right
Wholesaling,
about that.
it's not hard. Okay. I taught a 16-year-old kid in high school to do it. Okay. So wholesaling has nothing to do with your IQ. It literally, honestly, the smarter you are, actually, the more challenging it is because you constantly question everything. Okay. We teach you how to go in. You're basically, so I'm just going to give you the basic mechanics. You find a property, you find someone with a motivating factor. If they don't have a motivation, and price is not a motivation, Luis, is then you can entertain them to see if you can come to terms for a discounted property. How much of a discount? the sky's the limit. But the typical discount is going to be anywhere from 15 to 25% in today's average market. When I started, everything was a 30 to 35% discount. There's more competition. Okay. Once you put it under contract, there's a section in there which you do for an inspection period. Okay. The more flexible you can make this, the more room you have to find a buyer to sell your contract to. Okay. Here's the problem. A lot of people just take a 10-minute course on the internet for $300 and think I got it all figured out. If someone's giving me a phenomenal deal, say a house is worth $200,000, and they go, Luis, I tell you what, I'll just give you the house for 100 grand. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And you figure, go, dang, that's a good deal, 50 cents on the dollar. But here's the deal. I can only give you a 10-day inspection period. What are you going to say to them?
I would say, let me check it out.
Yeah, you're going to say, heck yes, because it's such a phenomenal deal that honestly, even if you called me and partnered up with me, you would make a crap load of money. And how much money are you at risk with? Zero.
Nothing really. Yeah.
Okay. The whole point of wholesaling, the whole theory is to go out and find people that need to sell their house. They don't want to sell their house. They need to sell their house. And then you put it under contract with a flex period in there, an inspection period. The least you would ever ask for is usually 7 days. It's got to be a smoking deal at 7 days. Okay. It's got to be like, okay, I'll take it, because you're going to make so much money, even with a partner that will take all the risk for you. But as the deal gets tighter, the inspection period gets greater. So like I just entered into a deal last week. I put a 90-day inspection period in there because I'm just not comfortable with it. I could probably find a buyer though, and I got to go out and like shop it around and do stuff like that. So if you do it in a local market, you have a higher effective rate. If you do a virtual market, it's going to be lower because you're not familiar with that market. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
So
I mean, all these kind of questions are in the course you're saying.
It's all in
basically,
there, and you just kind of go through it. And then there's a 30-day challenge if you want to go through it. It would tell you step by step what you would do every day. Like we went through like a real life scenario. I think we closed 800 deals for everybody across the country. It works. The only people it doesn't work for are the people who decide, well, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do that. I'm like, knock
just follow
yourself
the
out.
system.
I'm not
no.
charging you guys, but like when we have these lives and stuff, I'm just brutally honest because I don't want you to waste your time. Like talking to Denny before, he wants to emulate an operation that doesn't work. And I thought, dude, you're going to be sorely disappointed. I know who's steering you in this direction. Small crews, freedom of time. And then, Luis, you have to define, why do you want to get into wholesaling? Like, what is the attractive part for you? What is your why?
My why is legacy for my children. So definitely, I love my children, but they're not the smartest kids in the world. So they need to learn through hands-on experience.
Yeah. So how many kids do you have?
2 boys.
Okay. What age range?
They're adults. They're in their early 20s. So
perfect. That's even better.
They're struggling in their own jobs now. So I see that.
So you can find ways to kind of work through it. So what I would do is go through the course, share it with your boys. Like, so people like, how'd you get Zach into it? I go, honestly, all I did was give him like 2 or 3 books. And they were like, they were kind of open-ended books. You can do any of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, although I'm not the biggest fan of that. Any of the Tony Robbins books, or just some of the simple books that has to do with like real estate investing. And then the idea is just sell them on the vision of, because people have a hard time wrapping their head around it. Like, what do you do as a wholesaler? I'm like, our course spells out like the whole thing. And the thing is, it's not about being a great salesperson. It's not about being the highest IQ. It's about, do you like to talk to people? And are you willing to help solve people's problems? And are you flexible with your time? And when I'm flexible, sometimes we work Saturday, Sunday, but I work 10 hours a week consistently in this business for 20 years. My biggest fear getting in the wholesaling was I would run out of deals. I have never run out of deals. It's the amount of deals I deal with, and I'm not complaining about it. I'm very grateful for it. So one of my dreams was having Zach is work with people like you and stuff. Like, if I give you my skill set and I do it for free, I tell you can go out and do this on your own. But if you're not comfortable with it, call me if you find deals like this. We have you submit it, and then we run with it. And then if you qualify for it, we get involved with you, but you work with us. So like you get like hands-on. It's better than any $20,000 program you do out there. But like the thing is, I don't take everything, and that's the whole thing. And if you can strongly define your why before you get it going into the course, you will do amazing because I wanted freedom. I worked 80 hours a week. I never saw my kids. I grew up in a household where all my dad did was sell on the road, and I never saw him. And nobody ever helped me out from the time I was 14 on. My mom did, but God rest her soul. There's only so much like a mother can handle, especially with boys, if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
and here's the key is I'm telling you this because I'm big on fathering is, in my opinion, from 16 to 18 till kids hit 30, that's when they need the most guidance. And you know that, like, you know it
Yep.
deep down
No,
because they make
definitely.
critical decisions, marriage, business, careers, mortgages. And if they make a bad decision, like some of them just stick it out. I'm like, number one, you can correct it. Okay. But number two, let's
Yep.
find out how not to do that. Number three is we're all sold this crap that you got to go to school, you got to get a college degree. I did all that. And I'm still here wholesaling because it's 10 times better than anything I could ever do on that. And if we could teach our kids how to be self-sufficient and stop relying on these corporations that most of them are going to be out of business here soon, these corporations are laying off everybody right now. So
Yeah.
if you can teach them that, even if they did this as a side hustle, they can make a couple $100,000 on the side. So if they want to be a firefighter or a cop or something like that and get the benefits, it's just a great side gig because 10 hours a week is not that hard to do.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because
And I've been doing it 20 years. So people are like, is it really going to be around? I go, it ain't going anywhere. I'm telling you, like we help out so many people and the population keeps getting bigger. More houses are being built. We're not going anywhere. You need humans to transact on real estate. And I don't see that changing in the next 100 years.
Yeah, no, Zillow did try with the automation. I saw that.
Yeah,
Big
they
flop.
lost $500 million. It doesn't
Yep.
it
Humans are still needed right now. So
it's too local. Real estate, one thing's been proven, especially in any type of investing, you have to have local market knowledge or you're going to get killed.
right.
It's just so Open Door. I think they have an ungodly amount of inventory, and they're talking about what they're going to do with it because they overpaid for all of it. And I hope, unfortunately, I hope you don't nobody owns stock in it, but they're going to get killed. I mean, they own like tens of thousands of properties in all our neighborhoods, and eventually they're all going to come back full circle. So, you've been doing wholesaling a lot. I've flipped the same house twice, wholesaled the same house twice. It took
Oh
16
wow,
years to do, but it's kind of cool. So
that is cool.
yeah, go through freewholesaling.com. Everything's going to be there for you. And then jump on these lives and we make it interactive. And then do me a favor. I'm going to pop up one other thing is on the bottom, there's a wholesaling Facebook mastermind group that we do. It's the
Okay.
largest, most active one on Facebook. We don't allow any spamming in there. We filter out about 300 people a day, all scam artists. And we
Okay.
pay a person part-time just to go through this thing. It's so ridiculous. And we're the only ones that do it. And I
Yeah,
don't
I'm a
sell any
member already. I
services on
think
there.
so, but it's definitely. I
Yeah, it's
haven't really dived
wholesale.
into it, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's all good. So just jump in there. It's why we did this course so I could do this because it probably take me a couple hours to run through it, but honestly, it works. It's how I train my employees. It's how I train Zach, and that's how I want to train you. So, listen, what happened in
Cool.
the past, like move on, but like I think you'll do fine, and I think it's a great opportunity. This is how I got my son involved. I just did it, and he's like, "How do you do this? Like, how do you go to every one of my wrestling matches? You go to all the school functions. We do tons of family vacations." I'm just like, why? Because I learned from my dad, and I love my
Yeah.
dad, but he didn't teach me about money. So we
Yeah.
have to take a responsibility. 20 is still really young in my eyes.
Yeah.
Like
No,
they
they're
have no
definitely.
idea.
Yeah, they still have a lot to learn, and it's better than what they could be doing. I mean, one is
Yeah, so
working in a
lead by
union
example.
already,
You'll do
so
fine. So you
yeah.
already have some experience. I assume you probably know your local real estate market. I think you'll do fine. Just don't overcomplicate this business and do exactly what we tell you, and then hop on the lives, and then use the Facebook group to interact with you. And all we do is answer questions all day. And
Right.
keep in mind, I run a 7-figure wholesaling operation with my son. So like that's our main gig. And then we do this on the side because actually we really enjoy it. So
I cold call all day for the most part. That's my job.
dude,
That's
you're right
but
up my alley. So my son
but
is like a master expert on cold calling. And if you hop on tomorrow, he does them live in front of you to show you like he'll fight the fire with anybody.
But the one thing I hear with everybody that always talks about cold call, you do show up as a scam call or a spam call.
Hmm.
People are so curious of who you are, no matter what, they still call you back. So don't worry that your phone number is showing up as this is to
Yeah.
everybody. Don't worry that your phone number is showing up as a spam or a scan. Either I know some people don't believe in voicemails, but if you leave them voicemail, I think Zach does it. He just say, "Hey, Zach, give me a call back."
Yeah.
These people will call you back.
He's good at it. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, jump in there and then hop on later this week, and I'll be on Thursday and Friday.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Have a great night.
awesome. Okay, awesome. Vince, I wasn't going to leave you hanging, man. You know that. Even though there's college football on somewhere in the background, I don't turn it on because like I get excited around football. But like, I know what takes care of me the best, and that's taking care of you guys. So what's going on?
My man, how you been? Everything's okay?
Yeah, it's good. It's just hot as heck in Florida, but it's
Yeah,
football season's underway. I have no expectations with football. I just enjoy watching athletes run around. I wish people would have the same loyalty to their football teams they do to the wholesaling business, and we probably wouldn't even need this show because you ever see how fanatical people got it? And like I'm gonna be honest, when I was younger, I was an extreme fanatic fan for like the Dolphins and the Hurricanes, and now I just kind of like I have friends that are still that way, and they're like, "Why aren't you get up?" I go, "Because I'm not on the field. Like I there's
right,
nothing I can do to. I love them, but like
right.
they don't define me. I enjoy it, but like
It's probably it's more of an escape thing.
correct. So it's like so I don't need escapes anymore. So like my game is in business. Like that's where I feel I have the most effect.
That's real.
And I love football, but I can never do what those guys do. I did at one point on a very, very minor scale, and it just they're racking their brain around. Like a lot of them are just going to be, I just feel bad, dude, because those head-on collisions, they're terrible. I had headaches for 6 years after high school football,
Mm.
and I was told a concussion was a badge of honor by my coach. So I'm telling you how
Back,
old I am.
back in
That's
the
how
glory
coaches coach.
days.
They're like, get your ass back in there. Coach, I'm seeing two of them, and they jam a smelling salt up in your helmet and just stick you back in there. And back then, we used to do on the kickoffs. We formed a wedge, and you'd lock all your arms together.
Mm.
You can't do that anymore because it's extremely unsafe. And there was always one crazy kid on the team on the other one. His job was to sprint from like the 25-yard line and make a human sacrifice in that wedge. And the kid was only like $150. It was just like, and he used to knock us all out. We look on the ground and like the kid's up dancing and celebrating. I go, man, he's got brain problems, dude. Because if I'm running 12 miles an hour and he's running like 15, that's a head-on car collision, man.
Yeah,
So it's
nowhere protection we have today.
yeah, no. What was it? Yeah, no such thing as targeting. It was highly celebrated when I was in high school. It was, I mean, everything was a train wreck. I used to be back then. I go, man, this is just wrong. Some of the stuff that was on. The only thing like they figured out was face masking, and that's where they stopped.
Yeah.
And so from like the 80s all the way till early 2000, they're like, okay, now we got to control this league. And now you see the NFL's got like these soft helmets in practice. This is kind of funny. I'm worried where football's going, though, because there comes a point where you just got to let the men play and see where the chips fall. Especially in the NFL, they're all paid big bucks.
Yeah.
You just signed a $250 million contract and you're worried about getting a concussion.
Yeah.
Okay, no more football talk. I'll talk all day on that. What's going on, man?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out how do I get better, right?
Okay.
I'm getting leads. I have like 3 or 4 right now currently, and I get people. I build a rapport. I get them to, I know I got the word trash, the key phrases, to push them like in a not a how you say dominant or aggressive way.
Yeah.
But it's not getting to where they're actually, sending over the contract, we're getting the thing, moving forward.
Okay.
So one situation I got this guy. I'm in the Florida market too.
Okay.
I'm in the So basically, I got this guy.
Wait, what part of Florida?
Orlando.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So I got a property. I got a good rapport with him on the cold call, and he's in the. And that's another thing too. I want to ask you: do you bring up the pre-foreclosure? Do you bring up the tax lien? Do you bring up the liens?
I come from, so listen, this is my opinion. So I've seen people do it other ways. I always let them bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they're like, there's something going on my property, I'm not quite sure what it is, I ask permission for them to look into it. So you're more of a friend that's kind of helping them out, as opposed to like when you bust people, they get really sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
I used to door knock on pre-foreclosures, and my line, because I didn't know what to say at the time, was I couldn't help but notice your pending situation. They're like, what are you talking about? And dude, I got my butt kicked for like 2 months with that line. And I stopped doing it. I'm just like, hey, you got any interest in selling the house? And it was much different. They're like, oh yeah, my house is in foreclosure. Is that going to affect it? Do you work with people like that? I'm like, yeah. So I prefer to let them bring up their problem because it's more participative, if you know what I mean. Especially in probate, by the way. Like I do a lot of probates. I don't call them and go, hey, I saw your husband die. Do you sell me the house?
Yeah. Like I said, we're dealing with Florida people, so
yeah. They're crazy in Florida, man.
They're not gonna give you their faults unless, I mean, I guess.
Well, let me ask you: are you doing it all virtually, locally? How are you doing it?
I'm doing it in the Orlando area.
Okay, and
So
you live
locally,
in that area. And how long you been doing this for?
About a year. Okay. I started last September.
Okay, so what do you think your biggest hang up is? Is it on the phone call or in person?
So it's that's what I'm trying to figure out. I go in person is good. On the calls is good. Like I get them. So like I was telling about the one in Orlando, I went to the property, saw the property, and when we got to the negotiation part, he's like, "Oh, I got to run to the traffic DMV for a traffic violation citation.
Yeah.
Can we talk later?" So I, texting him like, "Hey, I don't want to be a bother to you. If you're still interested in selling this property, let me know. But if I'm bothering you, just let me know. I don't have to contact you anymore." So he's like, "Oh, no, I'm good. So we got on the phone, we started talking. I finally got him to a number where I could wholesale it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, we could do this one or two ways. I can either send it, via DocuSign, or I could come to the house. We go over the paperwork line by line. So he's, oh yeah, we come over tomorrow morning. I go over the next day. I call him. I'm like, hey, I'm here at the property, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, I'm in Tampa. I forgot I had to go to Tampa this morning. I'll call you back when I get back.
Yeah.
And we both know.
Yeah, he's just making up an excuse. So let me ask you this: before, when you meet with him, do you have the agreement set up with him before you talk to him?
Set the expectation.
Yeah,
you're right. So I'm like, hey, when I come over when I come to the property, if I find a number that works for both of us, are we willing to put pen to paper and get things going? Like, oh yeah.
So I would just get more specific with them, because
the
human nature is they'll wiggle as much as they want.
Mm.
And here's the truth of it. Sometimes people just won't tell you the truth.
Mm.
And there's not much I can do. Like, it happens to all of us, some more than others. And so the only way you can do is kind of call them on their own BS up front. So in that agreement, I would just go deeper. And it's just like, hey, Vince, I tell you what, I appreciate you meeting with me too. I'm going to probably take about an hour. Do we have an hour? And I just look at them in the eyes like, yes. That once again will get them from like stepping out the side door. Okay. Because if they want to leave in 20 minutes, you're like, dude, you told me you're free, and now you're telling me you're leaving. I'm confused. Okay. The next one is so you set up the expectation for the time and go, listen, I'm going to get to know you and the property. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. We'll get to know each other well. And at the end of our conversation within that hour, you're either going to come to the decision that Vince is the greatest thing to work with, and you decide to move forward, and we move forward with the paperwork, or you decide I'm just not a good fit. You don't like me. And either way, I'll shake your hand and I'll still help you to sell the property. But either way, at the end of the conversation, I need to get a commitment of a yes or no to move forward, so we can do the paperwork and decide if we're going to do this deal forward. Is that fair? And you have to have them acknowledge you yes. And if they give you a half-ass answer, ask them again. Because if they plan on BSing you, waste your time, they're going to tell you up front. And then you like I had people all the time. They used to like not answer the question. I just like, well, let me know when you're serious.
Mhm.
And I would just leave. Cause I don't want to spend an hour and a half with you if you're just going to like kick me to the curb.
Mhm.
Okay. And sometimes some people, they're just a pain in the butt. Sometimes some people are easier to negotiate over the phone. Like it's just
Mhm.
like, and people are really like, I'm just going to tell you, people are very judgy in person. And that's the other
Mhm.
thing I hate about it. Like I've had people tell me if I'm not a certain political affiliation, if
Mhm.
I'm not a certain religious, I keep that all neutral as I can.
Mhm.
I don't tell people who you are because
Right.
they're just going to judge you in advance. Like there's only certain things. Like if you're a guy, you're a guy. If you're this, you're this. Like there's certain things you can't change about you. But I get some weirdos, man. Like to this date, I have people like he told me he'd only do business with a 100% committed Christian wearing a cross. I'm like, oh my
Right.
god. I'm like, well, do you like? I go, we're not selling religion. I don't care. Like,
Right.
and I said, just focus in on the house. And I go,
Right.
tell them whatever you want to be. Like, I'm not like nobody's got one right answer. So my only suggestion is go deeper on that
Yeah, I like
conversation.
that.
It will nail them down to the time, and then
I like
it's
that.
like they have to do a yes or no. And if they're not going to answer either one of them, they're not going to be selling you the house. So if like you can just kind of cut the chase. And worst case where you can do a takeaway, go, listen, John, I'm interested in buying your house, but I got other house to look at. If you're not serious about it, just call me back when you are.
Right.
And that is a takeaway. But like, honestly, do you want to spend an hour and a half with someone that's just for someone that blows you off and says, I got to go to Tampa. And by the way, I give every seller, I give them one freebie of a lie. And you know what I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
The second time I'm going to warn them and let them know I know they're lying to me.
Mhm.
This can't continue. And if it does, I don't want to do business with you. The third time, I'm done.
Yeah, and
Because
that's
there's no way you can get a contract and agreement if they lie the entire time because they're going to keep spinning it on you. So I'm telling you guys, if you think you're like bending over and being flexible, you're being dominated when they keep adjusting the agreement to you. Let me give you an example. I can't tell you how many sellers we agree to a price. And then like a week later, Vince called me up and offered me $5,000 more. So if you
right.
don't up your offer, I'm going to leave. I'm like, we have a contract. And we'll talk to him. And then I talk to my title company. They go, no, he's really going to leave. I'm like, I can't make him close. I go, I tell you what, I'll give you 2,500 more. You're going to iron sign this contract. And there's no more negotiating. If you call me for one more thing, every phone call you make me, I'm going to take $1,000 off the contract.
Mhm.
And I put it in
I
writing
like
for
that.
him. And like, because once they start to take, they will take you all the way to the house.
Right.
We'll give
And
them one adjustment without a check. They're going to clean your clock all the way to the end. And I'm just
yep.
telling you, it's like you got to do it up front and kind of guard your time with it. I've actually met some people that are more effective on the phone than they are in person. And just because that's their human nature. So if you have, I don't know, man, I get like some weirdos out of New York, like very, very, like I'm not picking on anyone in New York. I love New York, but very strong, like Italian accents, like very dominating.
Right.
I never ever meet those types in person because I know exactly what they want to do. They're going to judge you first and they're going to run you over.
Mhm.
And they're going to try to humiliate you and make you think like you've got a great deal by doing it with them. So I completely take it away 100%. And I get a lot of those in Florida and you'll eventually see them too. So the good news is most of them are in another state anyway. So we never really meet them in person. So it kind
Mhm.
of works out well. If you get a super dominating person, sometimes it's better to negotiate with them over the phone because they'll
Mhm.
rip you apart in person. And remember, guys, listening to this live, if someone's trying to dominate you up front, if you don't take control, you are literally going to get crushed. I
Mhm.
guarantee 100% of the time. And how do they do it? They come at you with price first, right, Vince? Hey, Vince, how much you pay me for the house? Vince, how much? How
How much?
much? And you got to be like, hey, listen, hey, Rick, listen, I get it. You want to get it sold, and I understand that, and that's why we're meeting today.
Mhm.
I just got to take a look at the house. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I promise you at the end, we'll get down to a bottom line number and see if it's a good fit for you. I just need you to make a decision, yes or no. Is that fair? That's
Mhm.
every time you got to pick us. Once you start answering it, you are now working at McDonald's, and you're taking a number 1 order, a number 2 order, a number 3, and they're going to run you over.
And then I have 2 virtual deals. I'm heavy in Cleveland.
Okay.
And honestly, man, like I said, is I've been getting leads is not the problem. It's
Okay.
just so I got two leads right now. If they go through, that's anywhere from 16 to 20,000 on both deals. Um,
Okay.
So this one lead, I got her situated, and I told her up front, like, hey, I'm not going to be the highest price, but I'm going to be the price that's going to be in your bank account. You know, these people offer you 10 grand more than me. Go ahead and go. I was like pushing her, like, go towards them, like, you know, like, take their number, take the offer, like, because she was telling me all these other people that were interested in, and I'm like, okay, go ahead. So one day I called her, and she just, like, I don't know what happened, I don't know what I said, but it was just a whole different new person. She let the wall down. She was like, hey, you know, it's really my mom's property. You know, I'm just helping her out, but she's using the money to help me out. And like, she just told me the whole thing. And so I was just like, she's like, hey, if you could come up to 70, because my offer was like 60 or something like that. She's like, you come up 70, we can do it. I'm like, no. I'm like, you know, I told her, because I've lived in Cleveland and I have buyers in Cleveland that know the market great. So I told her, like, hey, this is XYZ that's going on. So she's like, oh, well, you know, my mom's not going to take it. She texted me literally an hour later, like, hey, I like your persistence. You seem real knowledgeable about the area. Can we do like 5 grand more than I offered her? And I was like, you know, hey, this look, you know, and I'm like, okay, can we come check out the property? So she's like, yeah, no problem. So this is last week. So this weekend I text like, hey, I'm guessing you went with another buyer. And then so I texted this morning. I listened to Zach's video. He had that video of his $57,000 $57 assignment fee. He told the lady, hey, listen, I got 3 other properties, but you know, if we could take this one, if you know, go and sign with us, I dump the other 3 properties and make you our biggest focus. And I texted the lady the same thing, and she texted me back, oh well, I can't meet tomorrow, but what can you meet during the week this week? So like, she's right there, but it's like why is she like, what else do I need to do to make her like, hey, let's get the ball rolling? Like, you know, I don't know what else I should do. Like, it's like, where?
So were you going to meet her in person?
No, this is virtually. So I
virtually,
got a bird dog in Cleveland that, you know, basically would go out there and get everything situated. But it's just,
yeah. So let me sum up this. Like, in wholesaling, if you think back to the chart, I'm not going to put it up because I don't want to cover your face. There's a constant push between building rapport and pushing the conversation to get an outcome. And it's a challenge, because if it really came down to it, we all could just run and make it like a football game and get in the end zone, to be, in my opinion, it would actually be easier. But you have to get the rapport at a certain level. And then here's the one thing that I can't put on paper for you. It's a timing piece. You build too much rapport, they never take you seriously. You don't build enough rapport, they won't give you the time of day. And then if you get just amount of rapport, you can transition into the negotiations. And then if you get the right thing there, you end it with a nice little rapport, and then you got to get them to sign. The biggest problem is from the end of that negotiations, what little rapport you decide to do and getting them to sign, that is the biggest challenge. So I'm here to tell you this. In wholesaling, you almost feel like, don't you feel like you almost have to push these sellers almost off a cliff to get them to do what you need them to do?
Right.
But the problem is, you feel if you push too hard, they're going to all go off the cliff and you're never going to get a deal. But I promise you, if you don't push, you're going to lose a lot more deals than the few that fall off the edge. And I guarantee this, it's so odd. It feels so weird. And I teach my acquisitions to people do it. It's the hardest thing to teach them. I go, you just have to push. Some are going to fall off the edge, but you'll gain more than you lose. But if you don't push, you'll probably get very, very, very little traction, and you're going to get frustrated in this business. So as frustrating as it can be, you can only learn, and you actually learn just to get more aggressive with the push. And the only thing you have to do is at some point, you do got to throw in a takeaway with someone. Go, listen, I have that contract ready. I know we're 5 grand apart. I can come up another 2. I think that's a fair deal. Another month goes by with payments and everything. It's probably the best thing for you. You got to sign it today, though. Otherwise, I got to move on to another deal. I want to do this business, but I feel like we've been talking forever. Either we have to move forward or we have to part our ways. And then you just and here's what I want you to understand, Vince. Even if she falls off the cliff, you can go and pull her back up and pay that 5 grand more if you find a buyer for it. Okay. So even when you burn someone, not burn them, or you just like you bluff them and you don't buy it, then you got to go out and find a buyer to pay 5 grand more than what you plan on buying it for. And if you can, you can go back and save that relationship.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I've done. I go, and then here's the conversation. I go, Luis, I thought about it. I don't want to pay you the $5,000 more, but if you'll sign the deal today, I'll go ahead and move forward.
Mm.
And then I'm going to use that time while she's trying to figure it out to go get extra time to find another buyer.
Mm.
And that's it. And that's just, but you got to keep doing what you do. Got to push some over the cliff.
Yeah.
You're better off losing 1 or 2 than losing 10 motivated sellers.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if you guys are like, you don't want to push, you want to do something, you will get killed in wholesaling. You have to push. You have to build rapport and then go, hey, listen, I talked to you all day. Let's talk about the deal. I'm going to get to know you, the property. And at the end, you're going to make a decision, yes or no, to move forward with me. I would love to continue this conversation. So you guys watch, like if you watch any type of TV, what do they do during the best part of any show? They go to commercial break and they leave you hanging. So you watch that stupid commercial and then you find at the end it's some stupid conclusion that you wish you never watched to begin with.
Mm.
You have to do the same thing to them. Go, listen, I'll tell you how to fix that disposal, but let's get into negotiation. And if we decide either way, I'll help you fix the disposable either way. It's like I'm a handy guy. So I grew up without my dad being around. I figured out how to fix everything in a house because it's like my mom we couldn't afford to pay people. So I got really good at being a handyman. So like when I come in, they goes, hey, can you help me with this? And I'd like help them. And like the problem is I helped too much in the beginning. So pull back a little bit, help them move forward and push. It's against your DNA grain, Vince, to push people. And I'm telling you, you have to push. So you have to find that transition from rapport to negotiations. And then you can leave off with that rapport, get a great connection. So you keep the deal alive. And then you go, listen, I got to get this thing signed tonight. I'm going out of town. Come up with whatever you want. It goes, it's got to be done tonight. And then use your DocuSigns, physical signatures, and then do not miss out on doing mobile notaries. They work very well.
Yeah.
So it's $50 to $75, and they have one job to get an authorized signature. They don't care about the rest of the story.
I got this last dude. He has a property that's vacant. It's in the Cleveland market too. And he had tenants in there, but now he got, what do they call when the people just living in there with no electricity, no nothing?
Squatters.
So yeah, he has squatters in there now. So he's like, oh, I tried everything. I got the police involved, X, Y, and Z, but they're not leaving the property. Maybe you can help me out with this. It's like, what steps do I take to, well, one thing with him, I got him all the way to the agreement, right? We had a number that was going to work, and I was going to make at least $5,000 off of it. It was real quick. But he read the agreement. He's like, oh, well, you got to make sure it's as is, because I went through the whole fire and wood damage. And I'm like, well, your property's not even a wood type house. It wouldn't even matter. Yeah. Besides that, I got him all the way there. So then I called him today, seeing like where he's at with the situation. And he's like, and he's stuck on his price. And I'm like, you got to come lower if we're going to get these squatters out of the property.
Yeah. Squatters are a challenge, dude. There's not many buyers for a house with a squatter. So you should have a lot of room with it. So like Vince Lowe, I'm here to tell you, like what you're going through is normal. I know it's frustrating. Like there's no guide to say, okay, just do a little bit more of this. You're doing the right mechanics. You just got to figure out the flow from like start to finish. And you're going to have to just do that upfront agreement, more detail. And at the end, when it comes to the contract, that's when you push. And you go, listen, I have to get it done today because my title company, I know they've been busy. And they told me if I got it in by the end of the day that I can start pulling the title work so we can get this closed in a reasonable amount of time for you. So I'm always bringing in somebody else to help me get it done. And listen, some of them are just going to fall off. And some of you get into follow-ups. And then worst case scenario, if somebody goes over that edge, go find a buyer that'll pay you more, pull them back up, get a more flexible closing term, and you can usually save those deals. So many people are like, well, if I tell them I can't do that price, they're never going to do business with me. No, sometimes you just don't see eye to eye. You just got to go find someone willing to pay more. And if it's willing to risk for it.
And how'd you deal with people I got this one lady, man, I've been dealing with her this past year. And she's like, oh, well, long story short, my price wasn't good enough. She went with one of those like open door type situations. They gave her a price. And then once I told her what they was going to do before she went with them.
Yeah, they'll obligate her. They obligate them.
Yeah, they baited her and they dropped it 30 grand.
Yeah.
And then she canceled it with them. She came back to me and she was like, we got everything situated. And she's like, oh, I'm 95% ready to get this done.
Yeah.
I know I've been hard. Tell me why this lady hasn't talked to me since.
I don't have an answer. Sometimes they're
Right.
just not motivated. Remember, if price is their only motivating factor, they're never really your customer
That's
to
not
begin
the
with.
thing though. The motivating factor is she had to go. She was going to go in pre-foreclosure. She went in bankruptcy court. They dismissed. They exempt the property. She could sell the property, pay back the back taxes. She has to pay back something, or they're going to take the house away from her sooner or later. You get what I'm saying? So that was the hey, we got to get this done because I'm trying to help you pay off this debt. You're trying to move next year. Use this money to help you move. Like I was hitting those points, and she just.
So where's she at now? Is she still ghosting you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, if you want to know the ultimate frustration of a wholesaler is when you get ghosted. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the worst feeling when you get ghosted? You establish a rapport, you get a deal, you wait out when they took a really bad deal and you said, I'll be here if you screw up. Right. And you're like that backup date at the prom date. You're like, dude, get in the car, chick, or I gotta go. Like, and someone like that, though, you do have to have an ultimatum or they'll drag you. They're just going to treat you like they treat everyone else, like a second stepchild. And I always want to keep the door open, but you got to just like, honestly, if you're doing something the whole thing, especially when it gets to ghosting and it's not working out, it doesn't make sense. Do something extreme and opposite. What's the worst that's going to happen? Okay. I already told you what my go-to line is. When people start ghosting me and disappear, and I usually trick them to get on the line, and I hate that. Use another phone number. I grab my wife's phone or something like that, and then they do this. I go, what did I do to piss you off? Like, honestly, am I that bad of a dude? Like, what's the problem? Do I upset you? Am I like so funky looking you don't even want to look at me in the face? Like, what is the problem? If I said something horrible, who cares? Just hit her in the face. Like, I would just that one. You got to shock her and you got to put you got to go a deadline. I go tell you, I'm going to bring the contract over. And if you can't sign it like right here or the DocuSign or whatever it is, I just got to assume you're okay with the house being foreclosed on. So a lot of reverse psychology. Listen, some crazy people. I think Florida's like one of the crazier states, but everything you've gone through, Vince, like I go through on a daily basis. I just get used to it after a while. And we try different techniques and they all don't work. So I tell you never to rely on one deal, but the problem is you're having a tough time getting them to the finish line. So I want you to push harder and work on your upfront agreement and your numbers will get better. Okay. So understanding your biggest risk is when you have that verbal agreement to get it to a contract. That's when you have to be hyper-focused. That's the one that hurts, right? It's like holding your girlfriend's hand, assuming you can get down on a knee and marry her. And she's like, you're never going to see me again. It's like, I don't thing in my pocket. And it's a really helpless feeling. And you understand it. And you like, honestly, I know exactly what's going on. And it like just hurts because you feel like they're taking food off your family's table by doing stuff like this. And it's not you, it's them. So you have to work on, by the way, any psychologist type of book, working on people's kids, learning about people's eye contact, their gestures will make you so much more effective wholesaler. So Vincent,
and that's the thing. Like I've been reading. I read probably like 12 to 13 books this past year, man. It's on all that kind of stuff. So it's going, like you said, it's working, but like you say, it's just, I guess it's just a experience.
Yeah, you're finding the formation to make a lot of money, but like this is honestly. This is the journey I keep telling everyone about. Like everybody's got to do it. Some people get luckier than others, but eventually you'll have to cross all these bridges. Just understanding your biggest risk is from that verbal agreement to getting that contract. And you got to find a way to tighten that up. Like, cause you're at risk. Cause once you have a verbal, if you don't get it contract within 48 hours, you're usually a dead man walking, right?
Right.
36 hours is the sweet spot. Add 12 hours to it, you're freaking out. Add another 12, 24 hours to it, you're a dead man walking. So just push it. I'm just telling you, push it because you're not going to lose anything else with it.
I can't be rational.
I know, but just keep at it. You're on the right pace, dude. Like you're saying all the right things. You're locating them. Like a lot of people struggle with the location part. So if you can just put the negotiation, it's not your negotiations, it's just your flow. So a little bit in the beginning, a little bit more detailed,
Yeah,
and at
like
the
you
end, just
said.
guide them. Go, listen, it's coming, man.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if you don't sign this contract, someone's going to show up at your door tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And I'd rather just do it. This is more convenient. So a lot of times in the DocuSign, you got to explain why it's convenient for you to sit there in your pajamas and just push an enter button, as opposed to having Susie go to your door at 8 o'clock in the morning with all these official documents. Which one do you want me to do for you? And then sometimes you got to go, oh, okay, I'll just push the button right now. And by the way, on DocuSign, whenever I have a big contract, I stay on the phone with them until they push enter.
Yeah, I lost something like that, Rick. 17,000 I was gonna make. I knew my buyer was ready.
I know. Okay, well, do this stuff. This is good stuff. These are like little details that make a tremendous difference. But you're doing all the other stuff that a lot of people are struggling with. So like you're way ahead of the game. So just keep it doing that. Hop on the lives, and I'm happy to work with you. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Like I said,
okay, bud. Okay. Okay, let me answer some online questions here. Let's see here. Okay. Where was it? Okay. So Donna says, you're still marketing the probates. They never stopped since I started it. It was my biggest regret. So I love probates. They work very well. If you're not doing probates, jump on it. Okay. CJ says, hey, Rick, do you ever do any cold call living videos like Zach? I'd love to see how you talk to the seller. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a cold caller. I'm completely transparent with you. I'm the last person that should ever teach you how to cold call. Zach took this up my business because I didn't want to do it. So I was very established with doing other marketing mediums, and Zach wanted to do this, and he loves talking to people. So Zach is the man. I could carry myself, but I would be a rookie in this. And for that reason, I'm not going to give it to you because I want you guys to be wildly successful with it. So Christina, I appreciate the kind comments. So any of you that are parents out there, you understand this crazy world we're bringing up kids in. So any way you can make them self-sufficient, self-thinkers, and independent and accountable, they'll have an amazing life. You'll have an amazing life. And grandkids, grandbabies, the whole fun yards. I don't have any of those yet. So trying to get people to do it, but you know how that works. Okay. And it says, I'm 24, minimum wage job, messed up car, siblings in foster care. I want to be able to get them out and take care of them. I hope wholesaling can do that to me. God bless you, Rick and Zach. So here's the really cool part. Your why is amazing because wanting to help your family out, there's no more powerful emotion than life in that. So if you like wholesaling and it resonates with you and it rings true to you, then you're in the right place. Just go over to freewholesaling.com. Here's the really cool part. I'm going to do this free for you so some guru doesn't take the money out of your pocket. And if you want this and you want to do that and you want to do it, there's nothing more powerful than doing something to free your family. Okay. The reason I got into wholesaling, so I could break the cycle in my family of the male leaving the house, spending no times with the kids, and having the mother to raise all the kids. So I grew up in a family of 4 kids. And although I enjoyed my childhood, it definitely had challenges. So I just think we're in a world today that any kids from like 16 to like 25 to 30, they actually need the most guidance because the school system by then, a lot of them let them down. And then they got to figure out how to go in the life, make money, find a companion, all that other stuff. And if you let them just do the decisions on their own without any guidance, you could have some problems. So I want you guys to be involved with your kids. If it's in wholesaling, great. But if it's in life, if it could free your life up so you can spend more time with your kids, I want you to take that journey. So, and your why is extremely strong. So just go through the free wholesaling course. And anytime you want to come in and talk to Zach, you have an open line and I'll never ask you for a dime. Okay. Ask any other guru that will do that. I doubt it. Which brings us to Christina. She says she paid $2,500 for a course only to be set up for the $8,000 needed for the mentorship. This is one of the biggest scams out there. They give you a course, they tell you it's going to be everything, and then it's nothing but constant upgrades. Why? Because it's capitalism gone awry, meaning they only focus on the money. They're not looking to do value. You know, there's people out there teaching coaching, teaching it to others that have very little to no experience. Do you know what qualifies a coach now? You ready for this? These are from the professionals that coach the coaches. If you do 5 deals or more, you are considered a knowledgeable coach. Okay. I don't believe you are. I'm just telling you, I didn't teach anyone until I went 12 years into this business. And even then I like wasn't overly comfortable with it because I felt I was a rookie. So, the mentorship's crazy. Thankful for you and Zach, and I'm happy for you. So that's one of the reasons why we set up freewholesaling.com. We do the Flip with Rick. We have all our YouTube channels. We want to help out as many people as possible. Guys, don't vote with your time and money. You do not need to fall for these scams. Wholesaling is such a basic skill set. We have 25 years experience here. We'll show you how to do it. I'll get you going. I'll guide you on the journey. I'm just here to tell you, people like Aunt that wants to free up her family members so she can spend time with them. It's powerful. All this can be accomplished by wholesaling. You guys you got to put in the time to it and actually get it done. So you will all go through the same journey. The question is how much time you're going to put into it. If you're willing to do it, I'm willing to put my 20 years on the line. Zach's 5 years on the line. We go live 6 days a week. I want to help out as many people as humanly possible. And that's why I've created this channel. So do me a favor, guys. If you could subscribe to my channel, it would mean a lot to me. If you could share it with people, give me some likes before we hang up. And then also subscribe to my son's channel, Zach Ginn, and he has amazing content. Our content is different. So there's advantages from hearing both of them. We're never on at the same time, so you don't have to worry about it. And for those of you that can't catch it live, it's all recorded. Just go to the YouTube channel, Rick Ginn or Zach Ginn, and always join us on the Flip with Rick channel. Zach will be on tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time to do live cold calling. I know you guys enjoy that. That'll be a lot of fun. And that's it, guys. I will see you on Thursday. I've enjoyed the time with you guys. Go out, just give it all to negotiations and just understand the techniques I share with you today will make you a much, much better wholesaler. So guys, I enjoy this. I will see you later in the week. Join us tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time for live cold calling. Guys, have a wonderful